Hi, everybody. We're back and we are talking about both SASE and SD-WAN and how these two really technology sectors actually are married today when it comes with security, basically. And we are talking with Renuka. And welcome, Renuka, because I thought you'd be the perfect person to discuss these things with. Tell us about Aryaka and the SD-WAN beginnings and then the SASE incorporation.
Thank you, Richard, and glad to be here. It's actually quite interesting. When Aryaka started, there was clearly, SASE wasn't there. In fact, even SD-WAN wasn't there. So back in the day, we started like 15 years ago almost, with a simple goal in mind. And the simple purpose that we were trying to address for customers is give them really good network connectivity performance at a global level. And the goal for the company, our vision when the company was founded, is really to give people very low latency, high performance, guaranteed global network connectivity. And with that vision, we started setting up what we have today is our global private network. So this is like an internet highway. And if once you're on the highway, you can reach any point, from any place, any user going to any application with guaranteed low latency and high performance connectivity. So that's basically how we started. And we quickly evolved into SD-WAN because this was becoming a software defined, like how can we make it easy, agile, accessible. Then it became more of a network as a service. And our customers took us into what we today call SASE. So we always follow and solve customer problems. And along the way in our journey, together with our customers, we are what is called a SASE, which is a convergence of networking, security services. And in fact, we are also adding observability to the mix because we have the global private network that has the data that our customers are using. So that's how Aryaka has evolved, and that's who we are in a nutshell.
If I think about it, your global private network is really maximizing the internet to provide the same functionality that MPLS networks used to provide?
That's exactly right. In fact, one of the most common use cases for us is WAN modernization, which is replace the MPLS with what we have and generally called as SD-WAN.
Right, right. So it makes total sense because why pay for all these expensive private circuits when you're already paying for internet access and you can just up your bandwidth?
Exactly.
So, as soon as you think about that, wow, global network and managing that network and the backplanes, it's pretty obvious that somebody would say, you could add security to that, and then you'd have it all, right? You'd maybe displace the MSSP services for the network side, maybe displace the firewalls. So it's pretty logical that you would get into SASE. What was the turning point for you to make you decide to go that route?
So it like I said, it was a very natural organic growth, and it was really led by our customers. Speaking of like managing a large global network, we have presence in 104 countries, which means that you could be having your users or your factories or your data centers, wherever your applications might be. It could be anywhere in all of these different locations, and we are able to manage the network connectivity. So when customers this goes to the agility aspect of I want to run my business, and I want the network to be able to cope up with the speed of business. So this is like the whole agility conversation where whenever our customers want to bring up new new sites, new factories, new connectivity locations, they basically reach out to Aryaka. And as part of that process, one of the things that happened very naturally was they said, look, I have these remote sites. I don't have any IT personnel there. And I, of course, need network connectivity, but you cannot have just network connectivity. You obviously need security. You need built-in security capabilities in there. So it was a very, very natural progression where we started with the network connectivity first, and then we started doing some basic access control. And then some of our customers had, a known security vendor. They would say, I have standardized on a certain firewall vendor. Can you help me, get them working with you? So we, in fact, have 600 plus firewalls from different firewall vendors, which are installed on our devices, and we actually manage them for our customers as well. So it was a quite, very logical progression, so to speak. And then because you're managing other people's firewall, and it was not always easy to do bug fixes and so on, we said, oh, this is something easier for us to build ourselves. So we, in fact, started building all the security controls on our CPE appliance, which is on the network, on the customer network, as well as in our cloud or in our POP. So it was just evolution of like, I'm already handling your packets. I'm going to do access control. Now I'm going to do, a little more of a identity-based, application-based access control. Then I'm going to do URL filtering, SWIG kind of features. Oh, by the way, I can also do some lightweight DLP, IPS, and CASB, and so on. So that's the journey that Aryaka has been on from a technology evolution perspective.
That makes complete sense. Now, and you've painted a picture of a SASE for the enterprise network. So we got remote offices, remote locations, and corporate headquarters, all on your network and all secured within your network. What about the mobile worker? Everybody went home to work a couple of years ago. How do you protect their access to the tools that they need online?
That's a great question. And actually, that was actually one of the sort of the growth vectors that we saw during COVID. So during COVID, we saw that the site-to-site traffic was dramatically, reduced. And in fact, we have really nice blog that we put together where we saw these, changes in the traffic patterns at our customers, before COVID, as the COVID things was like trailing off, as more people were starting to go back to the office. And this is one of my favorite sort of like stories or use cases, which is when remote users connect, typically you expect like lower quality, user experience. And that's something that people are used to because normally you do work from usually in the office. And when you go home, it's only on need basis. But with COVID, that changed dramatically. And one of the things that is very unique about Aryaka's private access is it's actually accelerated private access. So not only is it secure, but it's also accelerated in terms of you could actually access these applications from anywhere. And once they get on the private backbone, the connectivity across globe, across continents, across service providers is all managed by Aryaka's connectivity. So you bypass all those hops, and it makes it much easier, faster, better user performance, user experience for the users.
Cool. Describe your not ideal customer, but your typical customer. Which customers come to you because they're the right size, they've got the right networking needs, and the need for security.
So typically, our customers are companies, enterprises which have large global presence. So it's typically manufacturing. They have like factories, like mining. Some of the large technology companies that have offices in multiple places. Early adopters of like AR, VR, where application sensitivity, is really very important. And when we talk about performance, I think people sometimes equate performance to like how much throughput I'm going to get. But when I talk about like in Aryaka's context, every time I mention performance, it's actually more on the end user experience, which is latency and how many packets are dropped metric. It's not just about throughput, because you could have very high throughput, but if you have jitter, if you have packet drops, that's actually where things change. And, that's actually what impacts our, the actual experience of the user. So we have a customer as an example. They have all their factories are managed by this application, and the application determines, the signals to start and stop certain processes. And if there's any minor disruption in those, they run into like millions of dollars of losses, right? So people who use Aryaka, they actually put their mission critical business applications. In case of a high-tech company, they are into the graphics processors, and they need absolute connectivity between all their locations, all their applications. And that's a high-tech customer as an example. We also have one of the world's largest airline customers who relies on Aryaka to provide connectivity. And especially when you think about something like an airlines, there's a lot of security things that come into play. So it's not just like network connectivity. You also have to comply with a lot of regulations, compliance. just getting things in and out of the secured locations like airports and so on. So we have variety of customers from all these different verticals and different shapes and sizes. The one thing that's common among all of them is they implicitly trust us with their mission critical business applications.
Got it. Let's talk about logging, because I know when you're in 104 countries, each is going to have a different data privacy requirement for data residents. Do you have the ability can a customer opt to have logs sent to their own servers in country, or can you host the logs somewhere for them?
Yeah, that's a great question, Richard. And one of the interesting things that I learned when I joined Aryaka was just the sheer scale of operating in 104 countries essentially means you have to do this regulatory compliance conversations. You have to have a license to operate your business. And there are different kinds of licenses. So one of luckily for Aryaka, we actually have a telecom provider license. So telecom provider is we actually carry your traffic, in our network. So there are different kinds of privacy compliance regulations that apply when you have different kinds of licenses. And luckily for us, we have the highest end, which allows us to, carry like customer sensitive data, privacy, so on and so forth. Now, having said that, we have some customers who have special requests, and we have done integrations with their own SIM technologies. And it is always extremely, as you rightly pointed out, it's extremely regulated because it really depends on where the customer's presence is. What is the requirement of that local government agencies that we might be working with? So it's usually on a very selective basis. And we have hundreds of customers who have hundreds of sites. So it really depends on which sites have they require the log information from and how they want to consume it. But as Aryaka, we always give them 100% visibility to all their traffic. So all our customers have visibility to their usage patterns. We also have predictive analytics in terms of requirements. They have access to log messages through our system. So whatever they have access to our system, they are the one who manage for the sensitive data, regulation, compliance, and so on and so forth.
Renuka, when I got into networking, it was when I started an ISP, a consumer dial-up ISP, long time ago. But I discovered that because we answered the phone, because we had to take new orders, our customers would come to us with every single computer problem they had because Dell wouldn't answer the phone and Microsoft wouldn't answer the phone. And I'm sure Aryaka's got that experience being the network operator for your customers. Do you find that that's still the case, that you're basically not only are you the security answers, you've got all the answers, but you're also their network and desktop and problem resolution company?
It's funny you mentioned that because one of the things that we have learned over the period of time is how to triage these conversations very, very quickly. And because we own the network piece of it, right? The first thing people always complain about is, oh, I can't reach the server, I can't reach this thing, this site is down, this happened, right? And it's always the network that actually is the starting point of troubleshooting. So we, interestingly enough, we have very few instances where customers have to tell us that network is down. It usually always happens that we are proactively addressing the customer situations. And it's like our customers usually do not know what happens typically. So whenever there are link failures, there is service provider outages. In fact, there was the optic fiber cable that was cut. It happens very often, but there was one very recent bigger incident. And a lot of security cloud providers lost multiple POPs because of that, because it was a relatively massive fiber optic incident that had happened. And I reached out to our team and I said, hey, I'm in a large service provider customer meeting and they are mentioning something like this, because we had a meeting and they actually, had to step out and stuff. And I said, hey, something like this happened. Can you guys tell me what's going on? And they said, oh, let us check. And they went and they looked at our automated system. So we have a really amazing product. It's called Eagle Eye. And based on that particular, we can look at any customers, any sites, connectivity, all of it. We can zoom in, zoom out. And they said, yeah, actually what has happened is there is such a thing. There's a fiber cut. And I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? And they said, oh, it doesn't mean anything to us because all our stuff got shifted to the redundant link. And when we say redundant link, we are actually, we own a certain bandwidth. So we are not put together with millions of subscribers or other companies that are now all competing for the same bandwidth. So when we guarantee a network connectivity and high availability to our customers, we actually have double the capacity at any point in time. So it's a
Wow.
very different conversation, and just the level and the scale at which we handle things. So most of the times we are unaware of these conversations because they are automatically handled by our software. And this was a great example where I said, "Hey, such a thing happened. Do you know?" And they're like, "Yeah, we checked the logs, and yeah, such a thing happened, and we could see visually the link was down red in color and all that." But nobody even blinked. Our customers didn't blink. My NOC team did not blink. They were like, "Oh, business as usual," right?
Yep. Wow, that's a great story. So thank you so much, Renuka. I'm going to encourage everybody to run it and watch your demo. And once again, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Richard. Good chatting with you.